It came to me as a surprise because I didn't know that the work I do on routine basis could be picked up by somebody and recognized. That one has come to me as a shock. But I can assure you I'm very, very much excited, and that I have no words to express my delight about the award. The kind of work I do is that we serve community in this capacity as in judiciary, and for my case, for it to be specific, is that I'm a judicial officer currently deployed at Milimani Children's Court. Now, as a magistrate handling children matters, and as Terer, for instance, to be specific, is that now my day starts here at 6:30. What do I mean? By 6:30, I mean that I wake up at 5 a.m. from my home. I prepare, come report to work at least between 6:30 and 7 p.m. Now, what do I do when I report to work? I will first give a context to it. Number one is that we will have to understand the nature of work. The nature of my work is that as a children's court magistrate, or a magistrate for that matter, is that we handle cases involving children. So what are the nature of these cases, or how do we go about? We handle cases, we hear parties who have brought cases to us, and the nature of the cases which come to us is that there could be issues relating to custody of children, maintenance of those children. Some cases involve cases of children who need protection. So what do we do? On a daily basis, we hear these cases in court. We start court at 9 a.m. We hear these cases as long as they can go. But on routine basis, when I start court at 9, I hear cases up to 1 p.m. I retreat to my chamber. I take a lunch break of about 1 hour. And then now in the afternoons now, as you can see in my office, you have files. Is that the nature of a magistrate's work, or even a judge's work, is that it's in the form of a factory. So what happens? You hear cases in court, you record proceedings. Then now those cases now mature into documents which now you need to come and sit down and make decisions. So in the afternoons, for instance, then I largely take time to peruse through the files which have matured for delivery of rulings and judgments. I sift through the files, I prepare judgments. Now I deliver judgments on Fridays. So that now from Monday to Thursday, after a long day in court, I retreat to my chambers, sit down, write judgments and rulings. So it may be up to 5 p.m, it can go beyond. Now morning hours, when I arrive in the office, I set a climate 6:30. I first run through the emails, check my emails to see official communication from our bosses. And then again, now there are things we do offline or online, I can say. Like for instance, I've told you about the physical files we handle and the likes. Now, there are these cases which come and they are filed on daily basis, or new urgent issues, on ongoing cases. So we call them certificates of urgency. So what I do every morning when I arrive, I run through my official emails, and then now I log into my CTS is case tracking system. That is where new and urgent issues are filed by our customers or our stakeholders. So you look through those cases, you deal with them, you keep directions, you issue dates. If there are urgent orders that needs to be given, you give those orders. Then now, if I got time, then I run through maybe 1 or 2 files to work on rulings and judgments. So that's how my day is. What I think makes me stand out in my nature of work is that it's all about the kind of techniques I've put in place to make my work move faster and seamless. What stands out and which has really made my work is very, very easy is that, one of our duties is that we have these cases involving children who could be victims of crime. Now, most of my colleagues have had challenges extracting information from those children, and that some of these children could be as young as 2, 3, 4 years. So what technique have I devised to make sure that I make these cases move? And I think that's what stands out most for me, is that I have incorporated this technique called art and play therapy. Art and play therapy into those proceedings. What do I mean? Is that this is a technique where you use to bring children who are witnesses in criminal cases home. What do I do? What do I mean? It means that before I start having an interaction with these children and exposing these children to the vicissitudes of court, you first have a session with these children where you extract information and prepare them to give their evidence. How do you go about it? It's a technique where now you start taking the child through you bring yourself down to the level of the child. You have some toys here and there, art materials here and there. You do some plays with the child. Increasingly, the child develops confidence in you. Along the way, you start now going to the issues of the case, extracting information, and you realize that when you do that, it's an exercise which can take 10 to 15 minutes, and you realize that the child freely becomes your friend, is free to respond to questions, answer questions to everyone. I think that's something which stands out for me, because then what has happened is that I have now quickly processed those cases and release children to court, make final determinations in those cases. I think that stands out for me. Now, that is in criminal cases. When it comes to civil cases, is that there has been this problem of case backlog. A case staying within the court system for a prolonged period of time. Now, what I've done, and that applies to custody, child custody, and maintenance cases. What have I done? Is that most of the cases that come to the children's court is that all of them come in form of urgency. So what does that mean? Is that when you come to court, and any court for that matter, is that there's a way you come to court. There's a way you file the original case, which in this case will originate by a complaint or a petition. But in the children's court, we say you originate a case in form of a complaint. What does that mean? Is that it's the case upon which the court will deliver judgment. Now, within that case, if you have something urgent to address, you file something called an application. It could be notice of motion, chamber summons. Now, what happens is that when the file comes to you as a magistrate, is that you have to deal with this application first. Now, before coming now back to the main case, what has been causing these delays, and something which I noticed when I came to this court, is that you may take 3-4 months to resolve this application. Then once you are done with this application, it is as good as you've done nothing. You've just given temporary measures, temporary orders. It's like now you're prescribing a painkiller. Then you start another journey of almost 1 year to handle the main case. Oftentimes, you realize that the circumstances and the facts in the case and the application are almost similar. So what have I done as a technique which has really helped me to clear cases is that at first sight, when a case comes to me for the first time as a fresh case, what do? I consider that session to be a session where I convince lawyers and parties for us to agree to go directly to the main case. So that instead of us now taking 3 months to handle an application, for instance, is that we say, if it's about custody, we say what status can we maintain for say 1 month, so that we have a date for hearing of this case in the next 1 month, instead of having this application hearing in the next month. And then we agree on strict timelines. If so, the documents have to be filed, they are filed within strict timelines, and then we agree that on this date when I'm giving now for hearing of the main suit, we must proceed. So what happens? We all make concessions on the first day, on the date of hearing. On the date of hearing, both parties are ready to proceed, and the case is heard and concluded. What happens is that I deal with turnaround time for resolution of those cases. After hearing those cases, in my court, generally is that I hardly give dates for decisions that go beyond 2 weeks. So I hear a case today, you'll have judgment at most 2 weeks. Why? Because a case involving a child is a case involving food. It is a case involving school days. So you can't say it will take 30 or 60 days to make a decision on who will pay fees, because that child will be chased away from school. So those are some of the techniques I use to which for me I think they stand out. At my workstation, aside from hearing cases and determining those cases, what we do is that, and it's not confined to me alone, what we do is that regularly we do visits to children's homes. Regularly. So what do we do? Like now even this month, towards the end of this month, we are visiting Nairobi Rescue Center. So what we do is that together with my colleagues, we identify the needs of those children, come up with a small kitty, then visit those children. Right? So what do we do? Like now towards Christmas, we deliver clothing, packets of unga, packets of all those household items. We can throw them a quote here and there. So that's the CSR we do in most cases, and which stands out. Now at my personal level, and then I contribute to society in many ways, of course assisting those children who are joining school with challenges in raising school fees. I have a number of them, a good number of them. Now, at the moment, I give back to society by virtue of the fact that I'm a board member of a technical training institute. So it's voluntary work. So
on a voluntary basis,
it's voluntary, no pay at all. So you create time. You are in the board. You make decisions on how those children in that tier of the system of education are helped. And then also in between, also you identify children who have challenges and find ways of assisting them.